Could members of the Toronto East York Community Council please come to Committee Room 1? Oh. Okay, good morning. We have quorum present. If we can just get everybody to settle in. The Chair and members gratefully acknowledge that the Toronto East York Community Council meets on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, can I have a motion to confirm the minutes of the February 5th meeting? Councillor Layton, all those in favour, opposed, carried. Members, we'll begin our agenda rundown on page 53. Item 14.26, appointments to business improvement area boards, appointments to business improvement area boards of management. I'll move that. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.27, 1521 Queen Street West zoning bylaw amendment application preliminary report. We have deputations, so I'll hold that. Item TE 14.28, 466 to 468 Dover Court Road, official plan amendment, zoning amendment applications, preliminary review. Councillor Bailão.
Thank you. Approve with the expanded area notice.
Just a second, Councillor Bailão. When you say could you put it back?
So on the motion for expanded notice and the item together, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.29, 655 to 663 Queen Street West and 178 Bathurst Street, zoning amendment application preliminary report. It's Councillor Cressy. Should I just hold that?
I believe this probably has a motion to expand, or it's included anyhow. So let's adopt the staff recommendations, and let's just go with the interpreter motion then. That sounds good, about right?
Okay. So we'll take the amendment and the item together. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.30, 625 Church Street, zoning amendment application, preliminary report. Councillor Layton.
Yes, thank you very much. This is 2-3. No, not 2-3.
3-0.
3-0. I'd like to support the staff recommendations, please.
Okay. All those in favor, opposed, carried.
Working groups on that so far.
Item TE 14.31, 40 to 56 Harvard Street, official plan amendment and zoning amendment applications, preliminary report. Councillor Layton.
Yes, I'll move the staff recommendations.
On the staff recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.32, 429 to 455 Richmond Street East, 69 and 75 Ontario Ontario Street zoning bylaw amendment application preliminary report. Councillor Wong Tam.
Yes, I'd like to move an expanded notice motion. Thank you. And then the item as amended, as well as the creation of the final site plan working group.
Okay, so with the amendment and the item together, all those in favor, opposed, carried. We have a deputant on 1433. Item TE 14.34, 1165 O'Connor Drive, Class 4 noise area pursuant. Deputant.
Oh, okay.
Pursuant to NPC 300, Councillor Bradford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the staff recommendations, please.
Okay, on the staff recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.35, designation of fire routes and amendments to Chapter 880, fire route for 50 Pottery Road. Councillor Fletcher.
Yes, move the staff recommendation, please.
Okay, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 4.36,
Yes, on behalf of the local
construction
councillor,
staging area, 520 Richmond Street West.
on behalf of the local councillor, I'll move the staff recommendations.
On the staff recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.37, construction staging area, 30 Widmer Street.
Once again, on behalf of the local councillor, I'll move the staff recommendations.
On the staff recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Forgive me if I take a moment, I'm following 4 documents today. Item TE 14.38, construction staging area, 112 College Street. Councillor Layton.
Yes, I'll move the staff recommendations.
On the staff recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.39, construction staging area time extension, 387 to 403 Bloor Street East. Councillor Wong Tam.
Yes, I'd like to move the staff recommendations.
On the staff recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.40, construction staging area, O'Keefe Lane, 385 Yonge Street. Councillor Wong Tam.
Yes, I do have an amendment on this particular item, and if I can get the clerks to put that on a screen. First of all, we're not going to authorize the closure of this particular portion of the street for 5 years. We're going to only do it for 1 year. And we're also going to ensure that the local communities can be consulted with respect to any other material changes. And we're going to, of course, to make sure that the bike lanes and anything else that we need to kept in place not change without further consideration. All of this is about respecting the community, keeping infrastructure intact, moving people through the neighborhoods as safely as possible, at the same time allowing for some occupancy to facilitate the development.
Okay, so we'll take the amendments and the item together. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.41, construction staging area time extension, Victoria Street, 15 Shooter Street. Councillor Wong Tam.
Yes, I'd like to move the staff recommendations.
On the staff recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.42, installation of on-street accessible parking spaces, February 2020, non-delegated. Councillor Fletcher.
Yes.
Item 4.2.
I'd like to authorize the installation of an accessible parking space, Mr. Chair.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.43, installation removal of on-street accessible parking spaces, February 2020, delegated. I'll move the staff recommendation. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.44, payment in lieu of parking, 2360 Bloor Street West. I'll move the staff recommendations. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.45, School Bus Loading Zone Dufferin Street. On behalf of Councillor Matlow, I will move the staff recommendations. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.46, Traffic Management Plan, Wallace Emerson area. Councillor Bailão. Oh, we have deputations on this item? Yes, we do. I'll hold that for deputations. Item TE 14.47, Parking Amendment, Dunn Avenue between Springhurst Avenue and King Street West. I'll move the staff recommendations. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.48, Parking Amendments, Avenue Road. Councillor Layton.
Yes, thank you. I have an amendment that I'll move.
Okay, we'll take the amendment and the item together. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.49, Parking Amendments, Edmund Avenue. On behalf of Councillor Matlow, I'll move the staff recommendations. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.50, Parking Amendments, Grosvenor Street. Councillor Wong Tam.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to move the staff recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.51, Parking Amendments, Salmon Avenue. Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you very much. I would like to move the implement a small area of no parking at the southwest corner of Salmon and Marlow, please.
Okay, the staff recommendation is north side of Salmon.
Sorry, northwest corner.
Okay,
Yeah. Did I say south? I'm sorry.
that's okay. So the staff recommendation.
Thank you, yes.
Okay, very good. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.52, Parking Amendments, Oak Park Avenue and Everett Crescent. Councillor Bradford.
Thanks very much. I'd like to move the staff recommendations, please.
Okay, on the staff recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.53, Parking Amendments, Scarborough Road. Councillor Bradford.
Thank you. I'd like to move the staff recommendations, please.
On the staff recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.54, realignment of permit parking area 8D to exclude the development located at 1151 Queen Street East. Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you very much, and I have a motion. Oh, sorry, it's not ready.
Okay, so
Okay,
we'll hold
so
that
we'll just
item
hold
down.
that. Thank you.
Item TE 14.55, realignment of permit parking area 9C to exclude the development located at 507, 509, 511 Kingston Road. Councillor Bradford.
Thanks very much. I'd like to move the staff recommendations, please.
On the staff recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. We have a deputant on 14.56, so we'll hold that for deputations. Item TE, excuse me. Item TE 14.57, traffic control signals, Dundas Street West and Lisgar Street, Rusholme Road. Councillor Bailão.
Thank you. Approve staff recommendations.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.58, all-way stop control Alton Avenue and at Sodden Avenue and Alton Avenue at Stanton Avenue. Councillor Fletcher.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm going to defer this indefinitely, but I'm just going to flag what happens quite a bit, even in designing parks. The park gets designed, but access to the park is not considered. So how you get from across the street to the park is rarely thought about. And this is a situation with Greenwood Park where it's just a throughway, and that is how everybody accesses the park. up Alton. So I've noticed this in designing new parks for TCHC. I've noticed this constantly, and I don't know where that gets fixed, through planning, through transportation, through parks, but I'm just flagging that for the first time, and it won't be my last, that we're not designing things in a complete way when they come forward. It's departmentalized, and it's simply not very effective at the end of the day. So thank you.
Okay, so on the motion to defer indefinitely, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.59, signal timing review, Pape Avenue at Danforth Avenue and Pape Avenue at Lipton Avenue. Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to hold this to work on something with staff. Thank you.
Okay, we'll hold that in your name.
What are you doing?
I'm assisting a colleague. So item TE 14.60, traffic calming speed humps Duggan Avenue. On behalf of Councillor Matlow, I will move the alternative recommendation, which is direct the acting director of Traffic Management Transportation Services to request the city clerk to poll eligible households on Duggan Avenue between Oriole Parkway and Lawton Boulevard to determine whether residents supporting the installation of traffic calming in accordance with the City of Toronto traffic calming policy. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Item TE 14.60, traffic, no, sorry, I just did that. Item TE 14.61, traffic calming speed humps Dingwall Avenue. Councillor Fletcher.
Yes, do you have a motion on that, Madam Clerk? Yes. I'm just going to hold that for a second.
Okay, we'll hold that for Councillor Fletcher. Item TE 14.62, appointment of a public member to the Moss Park Arena Board. Councillor Wong Tam.
Yes, I'd like to move the staff recommendation and welcome Sonia to the board.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item TE 14.63, endorsement of events for liquor licensing purposes.
We do have two motions.
We have two motions on this?
It's one is by Councillor Bailao.
Somebody,
A couple of additions, so.
okay, so why don't you just move that?
If I could move the additions on some of these events. I think it's Dundas West Fest.
We have one motion.
Okay, so can we see Councillor Bailau's motion? Okay, so that's before us. Any other motions?
Yes, the clerks also have a motion for myself, if they can put that on the screen as well.
Okay, so those are to amend the hours. All right. Are there any other motions or speakers on this item? I suggest we take the motions and the item together as one. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.64, Hallam Street improvements. Councillor Bailao.
Approve the recommendations in my letter.
Okay. Did I have to introduce them? No, those made the agenda. Those made the
Yeah,
agenda?
those were made.
Okay. I
getting
just
better
want
at
to note that Councillor Bailao got her letter in time for agenda closing.
Can you imagine?
Thank her for that
If you notice the number of items that made it to the agenda this
and acknowledge the breakthrough we're experiencing here at Toronto
We
East
had to
York
fill it
Community.
up. It was a little light.
Exactly.
60 items. What are we going to do the rest of the day?
So,
I did my part.
Thank you.
so on the recommendations in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.65, realignment of permit parking area 3D to exclude the development address of 1779 St. Clair Avenue West. Councillor Bailao.
Approve recommendations in the letter.
On the recommendation in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.66, parking amendments Waterloo Avenue. Councillor Bailao.
Approve recommendations.
On the recommendations in the letter, actually, I want to amend that to include a gold star for Councillor Bailao's staff. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, I need a motion to introduce 67 through 80. Councillor Bradford, all those in favor of introducing the items, opposed, carried. And members, these were pre-circulated, so I'm going to suggest we go through them now. Okay. Item TE 14.67, one-way designation public lane west of Dufferin Street. On the recommendation in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.68, Toronto Maple Leafs and Raptors playoff season closure of Bremner Boulevard. On the recommendation in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.69, U-turn prohibition Roxborough Street East. On the recommendation in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.70, reopening of item TE 1488, proposed lay-by for taxi cab stand 900 Bay Street. So I need a motion. So on motion to reopen the item, all those in favor, opposed, carried.
And I believe there's a motion instead to rescind the item.
Yeah, it's just a motion to rescind the item. We've amended it.
So we have a motion
Yeah,
to rescind the previous decision.
yeah.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.71, parking amendment, accessible loading zone, 111 Avenue Road. On the recommendations in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.72, implementation of permit parking on Beverly Street between Darcy Street and Baldwin Street. On the recommendation in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.73, 481 University Avenue, including 210 Dundas Street West, amendment to pre-approval conditions for alterations to a heritage property. On the recommendation in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.74, turn prohibitions Hillsdale Avenue East at 2131 Yonge Street Development. On the recommendations in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.75, Front Street, Wellington Street, and Church Street. On the recommendation in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.76, speed limit reductions in Ward 14.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the reduction for the streets that are indicated in this letter
Okay.
and to ask staff to review a couple of others and report back.
So that's 26 speed reductions. Well done.
There's 26, thank you.
All those in favor, opposed, carried.
These are the orphans that were going at 50 when they should have been 30.
Everybody in Ward 14, slow down. Item TE 14.77, parking amendments Danforth Avenue. On the recommendation in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.78, no right turn at O'Connor Drive and Four Oaks Gate. On the recommendation in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.79, on the recommendation in the letter, all those in favor, it's Red Tape Brewery by the Glass Limited license. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.8, Liberty Village cycling safety. On the recommendation in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. All right. And that takes us to our timed items. Our first item is TE 14.1, renaming of a portion of Blue Jays Way between Spadina Avenue and Navy Wharf Court. We have a deputant listed, Mark Lazoane. Hi, Mark. How are you today? Grab a seat. Just said it as if you were reading it. Yeah. You know what, just the second sheet's fine. We know what item we're on. Okay. So Mark, you'll have 5 minutes. You can watch your time on the clock over here to my right.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members of the public, for being here today. Thank you, Councillor Bradford. Thank you, Councillor Bailon, Councillor Fletcher, Councillor Wongham, and Councillor Layton. I'm here today to remind you that the staff report on this item contains 2 errors. First of all, street names should not be perceived to confer any competitive advantage to a business. I would argue that City Place Way offers a benefit to Concord's City Place business. And secondly, and even more importantly, all city costs in renaming a street shall be the responsibility of the applicant. And this staff report budgets $500 from the city's money to pay for this, and the applicant should pay. So once again, I would like to remind the council that this staff report has mistakes and it should not be approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the deputant? No, seeing none. Mark, thank you for your time today and your remarks. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Councillor Layton?
Yes, on behalf of the local councillor, he's made a recommendation to defer this indefinitely. Bye-bye.
Defer indefinitely? Okay. So clerks have that? Yeah. Good.
Sorry.
So on the motion to defer indefinitely, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item 14.2, naming of an existing public lane north of Queen Street West, extending between Beverly Street and John Street. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none, Councillor Layton?
Yes, the recommendation from the local councillor is to, again, defer indefinitely.
Which one?
Okay, so on the motion to defer indefinitely, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.3, renaming of a portion of Russell Street, extending between St. George Street and Spadina Crescent. We have deputations on the item. Martin, come on up. This is Martin Franklin. He taught my son in grade 1 and 2.
And Tay and Thea.
And he taught my daughters, and I forget what year that was. They're all doing very well, Martin.
I'm glad to hear.
So would you like to all go together? Is that the idea? And we're going to start with,
LP.
oh, Michael. Oh,
Yes.
my God. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. Good to see you again.
Good to see you well.
Councillors, I'm the originator of the application, and you'll find my letter and document in the paperwork you've got. I'm going to be very brief. I'll be well under 5 minutes. All I want to say is that I'm available when it comes to a discussion to answer any questions you might have. Secondly, I want to thank the Councillor Layton and his staff, the University of Toronto President's Office, and Lucas Granger from the University of Toronto Students' Council, who you'll be hearing from in a minute, with all their help of getting me through the hurdles of this application. And thirdly, and most important, I want to introduce to you Monica Franklin and Martin Franklin, Dr. Franklin's daughter and son. And Monica is going to speak to you for a minute or two, and that's it. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Michael? No? Monica, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes, and you can watch your time on the clock to my right.
Thank you. I'll be brief as well. Really, I'm here also to say thank you to Michael Volpe, really, for championing this initiative from the beginning, when it was just an idea, to where we are here today. And also to thank the city, the staff involved, the consultants, the local councillor, Councillor Layton, the local residents association, the Huron-Sussex Residents Organization, the University of Toronto, which is certainly fitting since, as the letter from President Gertler indicated, my mother spent most of her academic life at the University of Toronto, mainly in the Department of Engineering, but also in museum studies, and finally at Massey College. And the street that's named after her will touch a corner of the Faculty of Engineering at U of T. I'm sure my mother would also be very pleased that this honor is coming from the City of Toronto. Her early connections to Canada and to Toronto really were via her involvement in our local residents association in Midtown Toronto. And from that, I believe she took her focus on the importance of citizen engagement, that the voices of residents, of people, need to be heard and respected and included in discussions and decisions that affect them. I would finally note that my mother, in addition to being a proud Canadian and Torontonian, an activist, was also a feminist, and we are here a few days after International Women's Day when we honor and remember many of the women that influenced us and the contributions they made. So we look forward to the official dedication, the unveiling of the Ursula Franklin Street when it happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Monica? No? Martin, it's your turn.
Thank you. Monica has spoken extremely well on my behalf. I'd also like to thank all the people involved.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Thank you, all three of you. Lucas Granger.
Ellen, I just resent it, okay?
My printer broke this morning, I'm sorry.
That's what all the students say.
Yeah, it's hard to afford one, but then they break, so, you know. Anyways, hi everyone. My name is Lucas Granger. I'm the Vice President of External Affairs at the University of Toronto Students' Union. We represent over 38,000 undergraduate students at U of T. I don't think I can top the words that both Monica and Martin and Michael, for that matter, said about Dr. Ursula Franklin, but I do just want to say that she is an excellent choice for this replacement on Russell Street. She stood for the values that the University of Toronto Students' Union stands for: pay equity, peace, feminism, and education. She was a brilliant professor at the university, and she holds the values that we hold dear. However, I do want to kind of discuss the nature of this change and how we should embrace it going into the future. The University of Toronto and the city play a role in the reflection of our shared history and our representation as a modern and inclusive city. And so, as a result, the university has a responsibility to ensure that our students feel comfortable in their academic environment, especially considered the visible and hidden histories on our campus. It's up to us to push for changes like this street renaming to ensure that our university reflects our students, staff, alumni, and our accomplishments. And Peter Russell did none of these things. But it's also the duty of the city to acknowledge their role in the reflection of our city's population when choosing renamed streets, landmarks, and our public spaces. It's all too common to see the reflection of our white, male, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant past within the city, and there is no recognition of the contributions that individuals from Indigenous, Black, South Asian, East Asian, and other communities have brought to the city throughout its history. We can all do more to reflect these histories, and I'm proud to say that the University of Toronto Students' Union will continue to fight for this change. So thank you all, and thank you again for accepting this report.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No? Thank you so much for your remarks today. Peter Martin.
There you go. I sent it to you.
Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, all. Yeah, thank you for hearing me. I don't know whether you have my letter or not, but that shows it on official letterhead. But this is a personal intervention. It wasn't my idea, but when I heard about it, I thought, wow, what a great idea. I have to stand up for this. So I'm offering my unequivocal and enthusiastic support for this renaming. This is really personal, and it's based on my interactions that I've been privileged to have with Ursula as a fellow faculty member, a senior fellow at Massey College, parent of children at the Ursula Franklin Academy, and so on. I'm a great fan, and I have a bust of her in my office that is a watchful inspiration every day. Ursula's superb intellect and generosity of spirit made her a top scholar, committed to the betterment of humanity. She was so many things: an effective speaker, a leader in the university and in public forum, an engaged mentor for students, whether they were graduate students or at the high school level, and a true friend. I enter my office at the McLennan Labs from the very street to be named, and it will add spring to my step to arrive every day along Ursula Franklin Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No, thank you for your remarks. I'll let you applaud. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none, Councillor Layton.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's not terribly common in this chamber that we get to recognize such a distinguished individual, scientist, researcher, activist, Torontonian, Canadian. And so with particular pleasure, I'm happy to move the recommendations with the greatest of thanks to Mr. Valpy for bringing this forward, to the community associations, to the University of Toronto Community Liaison Committee, to the Students' Union, everyone who lended their support to this significant change and recognition that we're able to offer today. As a University of Toronto alumnus, I'm happy to see that the university is on board for changes like this, and for recognizing the excellence that comes from the university and from the members of that university community. I'm equally as thankful to the family for coming out today to celebrate this moment with us and to help us remember the importance of your mom, of your friend, of your colleague in the history of our city. And I hope and I look forward to the opportunity for us to get together and celebrate that more intimately, which will likely end up not terribly intimate, because I'm sure that given her status, she touched the lives of many, and many will want to join in welcoming this change to the story of our city that people feel as they walk down the streets. I also, I know my colleague, Councillor Wong Tam, has a motion coming that I'll be supportive of that recognizes the importance of, as we're doing these retelling of the history of Toronto, that we do it in a respectful fashion, and we recognize the role that all the individuals in our community play in the deep and rich history of our city. Thank you. Councillor Wong Tam.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you to the deputants who came. First, I'll move my motion, is to have the manager of the Confronting Anti-Black Racism Unit, in consultation with the Director of Engineering Construction Services, to work with the University of Toronto to identify additional placemaking opportunities within and beyond the university campus grounds to help promote Black history and notable Black persons of Canada, significance for honorific as well as permanent naming. And I do so largely as a nod to even what Lucas, thank you, Lucas, for your comments, had to say. It's incredibly important for the City of Toronto to be an active player, an active leader in this particular narrative of how we actually work collaboratively with partners like the University of Toronto, who are extraordinary thought leaders in framing the history of how we define our neighborhoods, our communities, our city, and our nation. And the naming of this particular street for Dr. Franklin is extraordinary, and I think it's actually incredibly important that it be done. Just reading her contributions as a highlight of reminder of what she's accomplished is just exceptional in every way. I cannot imagine a more suitable naming for this particular this street because not only does she has 25 honorary degrees, she's been inducted into Canadian Science and Engineering Hall of Fame. She's the companion of the Order of Canada. She's the member of the Order of Ontario, as well as the City of Toronto. She was awarded the Award of Merit. The Governor General's Award in commemoration for the person's case for advancing the equality of girls and women in Canada, and the accolades go on and on and on. And if I compared what the contributions are to what the outcomes that we now have before us in Canada, a place where women and girls have a seat at the table, where women and girls are trying to move into to the fields and sector of STEM. There are extraordinary people that have actually led and paved the way, and Dr. Franklin is one of them. It's such an honor to have the family come out and share her legacy and those personal stories with us. And of course, I want to just pay a special nod to Michael Valpe. Thank you for your article penned 2 years ago, which highlighted, I think, the original acts of Peter Russell and why we didn't necessarily want to continue to name places in Toronto after someone with that sort of record. And at the same time, we know that there's much more to be done, not just necessarily exclusively on the University of Toronto campus grounds, which is why I'm hoping that the university continues to break ground with us and lead us with support from the City of Toronto staff to help us do better, not just on the university grounds, but across the city. And I think that will be a very productive way for us to move forward, to continue to identify notable Canadians with distinguished contribution and track records, and then to actually amplify all that is good and productive in nation building, which is what I believe this particular move is. It looks like it's one street naming, but it's actually so much bigger than that. And I just wanted to give nod to that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm just going to add a couple quick remarks of my own. You've heard from a number of people that Dr. Franklin's work touched many lives. Mine is among them. As a young man, I happened to see Dr. Franklin give a talk on the different modes of technology and their different impacts on the way society is organized. And that was among the reasons that I spent 20 years working in the environmental and peace movements before entering elected office, hopefully pursuing the kinds of goals that would make Dr. Franklin proud. Further to that, all three of my children attended Ursula Franklin Academy. They're all pursuing very interesting things in life. One of them is right now off delivering a baby at a hospital in Hamilton. So she's touched many, many lives and shaped them and made them better. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here making the decision to name this street after her. So with that, why don't we record this vote? So all those in favor, Councillor Layton, Councillor Wong-Tam, Councillor Perks, Councillor Fletcher, Councillor Bailao, Councillor Bradford, that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Item TE, oh dear, so much paper. Four. That was three, right? Yeah. Item TE 14.4, 900 and 980 Lansdowne Avenue, 30 Powerhouse Street, and PIN 213250433, official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application, and removal of the holding H symbol from the zoning bylaw final report. Councillor Bailao. Oh, yeah, there are no deputants listed. I should call. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none, Councillor Bailao.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I do have... Sorry? 4. Okay, can I continue? No problem. So I do have a motion. This is the last phase of a large secondary plan that has been part of it in my old area, part of it in my new area. I think the exciting part about this is that these last 1,000 units are going to be rental units. So I'm really excited to see this turn into a rental project, much needed in the city, much needed in the area. So we fine-tuned a bit from the secondary plan, got some funds because the number of units went up a bit, got some funds for affordable housing, and we'll be having a wonderful splash pad for that community being built, hopefully this summer so that the community can enjoy it. This motion was worked with staff and is really to direct the money for the affordable housing and to ensure that we have the opportunity to have the splash pad being built this year as well and have this project moving forward. So if I could have your support for the amendment and the project, would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Questions of the mover? Other members to speak? Seeing none. On the amendment and the item together, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.5, Queen Street West Planning Study, Bathurst Street to Roncesvalles Avenue, Official Plan Amendment, Final Report. Rick Amos. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
If memory serves, you know the drill.
Good morning. My name is Rick Amos. I'm the Secretary Chair of the Parkdale Residents Association, and I'm here to express our opinions and thoughts on this final report. We commend the hard work of city planning and heritage staff in attempting to accommodate the varied opinions of local residents, shop owners, and property owners along this 3.5-kilometer stretch of Queen Street West. We have several areas that we would like to speak to. Over the past 8 years, the Parkdale Residents Association and other local residents associations have worked hard with the city to have some control over the effects of short-term speculative development on the fabric of the neighborhoods along Queen Street West, especially the effects of large condo developments in the area between Ossington and Dufferin, which is dramatic. The effects of this OPA will be long-lasting, 30 years and more. This will change the fabric of Parkdale, socially, culturally, and economically. One thing to remember from a person who was well attuned to urban living, Jane Jacobs, neighborhoods are about people, not just buildings, and who championed a fresh, community-based approach to city building. Not all knowledge and expertise is contained in the city's professional consultants, but also in the lived experience of citizens and residents of our neighborhoods. The PRA believes there is still time to attend to the problems and concerns listed below. What we are currently seeing in Parkdale is mid to large developers moving in to consolidate and develop the larger easy sites, empty lots and 1- and 2-story properties. The original working group conversations were to promote small landowners and developers in creating low-density projects using wood construction and adding 1- and 2-story upgrades. The current 4 pre-application developments in Parkdale are all concrete construction in the 6- to 8-story range. This is entirely antithetical to the city's transformed TO target of net zero for greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. The extended mediation and conciliation approach to community consultations continues to undermine the diverse and meaningful participation. Important community groups were not interested in being at the West Queen West Area Study and HCD Working Group table. And more citizens and residents associations have further been frustrated into conciliation on applying Avenue mid-rise standards. This was not their intent, nor is it appropriate. The impact of increasing the height in Parkdale, currently 14 meters, 3.5 stories, to 20 meters, 6 stories, is dramatic, almost double the height. Compare this to the current height, 16 meters from Dufferin to Bathurst, and the 16-meter height limit for the Queen West HCD Bathurst to University. West Queen West may be the longest mainly intact low-rise Victorian main street in North America. It should not be seen in either the HCD or the non-HCD portions as a target for interspersed mid-rise wherever one or more non-contributing buildings and lots happen to be located. The resulting gap-toothed look would diminish and damage the heritage character of the district, countervailing the intent of the Heritage Act. Where competing provincial intensification policies require attention, a 4-story low-rise limit on West Queen West provides conservatively for a doubling of the available GFA within the West Queen West lands and allows for sensitive low-rise infill. The increased as-of-right height allowance in this final report will influence MPAC assessments, pushing for best and highest use. Without appropriate tax break programs for vulnerable community members, the effect of this new tax burden will enable displacement by making the area unaffordable to established businesses, residents, and service providers that have already invested in the appreciating value of the neighborhood. I'm going to skip item 9, which talks about the King-Queen West intersection. We recommend that planning adopt suitable local cultural heritage landscape policies for West Queen West and Parkdale HCDs to identify non-architectural urban features like the neighborhood's recognized social heritage, which are crucial
Rick,
to
I'm going to ask you
Parkdale's.
for your final thought.
Finally, we request a 1-year interim control bylaw on land use development along Queen Street West. This will allow time for the OPA to be revised and the HCDs to be finalized and be implemented.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the deputy? Seeing none, thank you very much for your time today, Rick.
Thank you.
Mark Richardson. Now, Mark, I know you know the system.
I know the system. I just need to plug in.
New job?
Yeah. If you guys go out, maybe. All right. Councillors, I'm Mark Richardson from housingnowto.com, and I'm here to speak today about the West Queen West plan. We came to this late. I'll be fully honest, we came to this late. We only really got engaged in this file when the Parkdale Hub affordable housing item was tied to the Housing Now and Open Doors plans. Your housing policy is 40,000 new units of affordable housing by 2031, 22,000 of those being workforce housing, 18,000 of them being new units of supportive housing, and you're generally supportive of transit-oriented development. These are the sorts of targets that you need to hit yearly to create new housing in Toronto near transit. When we looked at this plan, there are 3.5 kilometers of Queen Street West that are essentially being actively removed as affordable housing sites. We went through your staff report and we did a word count. The word affordable appears 9 times. The word housing appears 24 times. The word character appears 80 times, and the word heritage appears 115 times. Is affordable housing our #1 priority along transit in Toronto? You've got 3.5 kilometers now of highly restricted development frontage, 7 kilometers because it's north and south side. I don't see anything in this that offers a default exemption for West Queen West policy for affordable housing that says if you're 50% affordable housing and more than 20 units, you can bypass all of these restrictions that are in the West Queen West plan. And it's already impacting affordable housing sites. There's pages and pages at the back of this report of affordable housing, of heritage designations that look like they're in process along this stretch. All of the green ones that we show here are ones that haven't been approved yet, but you're literally taking blocks and blocks out of play for new affordable housing. And we've already seen it happen. I mean, this is from your own Parkdale Hub information last year. By applying the West Queen West guidelines between June and November of last year, you went from in June, you were proposing 179 units of affordable housing at the Parkdale Hub. By the time the fall report rolled around, those numbers were much lower with a maximum of 107 units at that site. Those step backs are not free. Those height limits are not free. We've had this conversation about other sites in other parts of the city. In the same way as we have to make enough space on parking lots in the suburbs, we have to allow these streets to intensify at a position where they can be developed by affordable housing developers. So what do we need to do for new affordable housing on Queen Street West, near transit? We need to do more than what is in this plan. Simple example, can we build it with maximum affordable housing on Queen Street West? We saw in the Parkdale Hub plan how the step backs reduced units. This is a building that you're building right now on Girard on another transit route. This is a seniors building with a daycare in the base of it. You couldn't build that building on Queen Street in this same, with these restrictions. This is a TCHC building, 100% RGI, that you're about to approve this afternoon on Queen Street. You couldn't build this building with these restrictions. These are existing buildings that are there along West Queen West. I couldn't even reproduce this built form. You know, if you don't allow that kind of density, that kind of no step back, you want accessible units, you want all sorts of stuff, we cannot do that in the affordable housing world if you do not exempt affordable housing developers from these West Queen West restrictions. And that's my time.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mark? No? Seeing none?
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? I have one. Ingrid Beausoleil? Ingrid? Hi, Ingrid. Come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning. Have a seat. So you get 5 minutes, and you can watch your time on the clock over there to my right. Okay, go ahead.
I'll be very brief. My name is Ingrid Beausoleil. I represent a landowner in the Queen West area known as Queen and Brock Holdings, Inc. Just wanted to state for the record, we've submitted a letter of interest in this regard, and we'll be monitoring it going forward. Thank you.
Thank you for letting us know that. Are there any questions? Seeing none? Okay. Are there any questions of staff? Seeing none? Anyone to speak? I'll speak. So for members who haven't been participating in this, this has been a long journey. It's been 5 years in the making. It was initiated by myself, Councillor Bailão, Councillor Layton 5 years ago. And we have done remarkable community consultation on this. I literally have lost count on the number of community meetings, stakeholder meetings, working group meetings on different topics that have been undertaken. This is one of the most exhaustive and thorough avenue studies that I've seen conducted by city staff, and it has been remarkable work. I want to note something really important about this. The City of Toronto official plan is specifically designed to guide new density into our centres and onto our avenues. And it specifically is designed to make sure that we don't treat avenues as, endlessly replicating identical built forms. The idea is to look at each of them particularly and figure out what are the unique attributes and characteristics that we want to build on and reflect in future development. It's also built on the notion that our avenues don't succeed if you sterilize them and stop there being any investment at all. So with that in mind, city staff devised a unique built form for Queen Street West, which by changing the way step backs work actually makes it less expensive to build those first 6 stories than would be typical in a normal avenue. Yes, the overall height is reduced, but the cost of construction is also reduced, making it a profitable enterprise to invest in redeveloping Queen Street. Now, some have made the claim that these particular guidelines will somehow restrict the amount of development. People making that claim are clearly not following what's happening. Speaking to a specific claim made that somehow the development of these guidelines would impact on whether or not 179 units of affordable housing would be possible at the Queen and Cowan site, I should note that that's not the case. In fact, the 179-unit option was specifically designed to conform with these design guidelines. Further, in the last couple of months, in the stretch of Queen Street that I represent, not 1, not 2, but 3 applications have come forward mindful of these new guidelines. One of them specifically for an affordable rental building, privately constructed. So the evidence is quite clear that some of the gloom that people are predicting in terms of this sterilizing Queen Street is simply not accurate. But also, the built form is specifically designed to reinforce and capture and highlight the character and features of this section of Queen Street in a way that wouldn't be captured with other designs being used on other main streets. So the concerns about maintaining the character are amply addressed, and we will be receiving a future report with heritage designations and heritage conservation district rules for this area. I think it's a remarkable piece of work, and it shows that we can capture what is best about one of the most important streets anywhere in North America, while at the same time creating opportunities for more housing, more vibrant commercial use, and the reinvestment that will keep this street vital and vibrant. And I want to congratulate city staff on a remarkably powerful piece of work. Thank you. And with that, I'll move to staff recommendations. Anyone else? No? Okay, so on the staff recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.6, 2 Bloor Street West, zoning amendment application, final report. I have a deputant listed, Dennis Wood. Dennis? If someone from the clerk's office, yeah, they can take your document and make sure it gets circulated to the members. So you have 5 minutes to provide your remarks. You can watch your time over there on the clock on the wall to my right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. I appear this morning on behalf of Morgard Investments Limited, who are the owners, who are rather representatives of the property that is to the west and south of the proposed development. My client has provided a letter of support for this project dated March the 10th, which should be in your information package. And that letter of support is in principle. And as you will see from it, our client is here to speak to that support, but also in regard to a couple of matters which affect or could affect its operation. Councillor Wong Tam will remember that there were extensive negotiations some years ago when Oxford owned this site, in particular in regard to the widening of the lane and in regard to underground connections in order that the private path system continue as it functions now. Now, the two property owners there's a commitment on the part of both of them to continue in regard to those private arrangements, and agreements are being discussed at the present time. What I'm here today to talk about has to do with a rather, and I should say, which is really important, the extent of our client's support of this project is manifest in the fact that it is accepting the very large part of the tall building setback on its property. As you know, tall buildings are to be set apart 25 meters, and if you look at the plan, the proposal is butting up to the lane, and our client is accepting most of the 25-meter setback. So on its side, it has been looking for some rather modest accommodations, and one of those is necessary at this time from the city, and that's why I have provided you with this resolution. In the letter of support that my client has provided, and I have copies of it here if you'd like, but there is an indication of a possible art screen that would be abutting the public park adjacent to what is now Mayfair Mews and is proposed to be renamed as Critchley Lane. Our client's building at the present time, as Councillor Wong Tam knows, orients toward the Mews, but on the north-south sector. This public park will offer the opportunity of our client reorienting its building to face to the north and to take advantage of this wonderful public park element. This art screen would be entirely across the face of if built, across the face of the south edge of that park. And what this resolution asks you to do is acknowledge that if the art screen is constructed, it would be constructed in such a way that it could be removed or reconstructed at a later date to recognize a reconfigured 50 Bloor development that faces the park. So it's a rather modest request. I'm told by the developer that this screen may not even be built, but what we're trying to do is ensure that if it is built, it's built in such a way that it could accommodate a rather exciting repositioning of our client's building to take advantage of that park and face the park rather than, in effect, what it's doing right now is facing the back wall of the office building on 2 Bloor West. So I would request that the committee adopt this recommendation along with the other recommendations and pass it on to council. So those are my submissions. If there are any questions, I'd be pleased to handle them.
Very good. Are there any questions of the deputy? Councillor Layton?
Was this just submitted now to the clerk?
Yes, yes.
You do realize that we're about to adopt the item in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, so
And this gives me absolutely zero time to check with our planners, to have a discussion with them, that perhaps this would have been more appropriate if you had brought it forward on behalf of your client, I don't know, 24 hours ago or 1 hour ago, so that
well, you will
would have
see
given us some advance.
Well, in the letter that was filed by our client, this issue is raised. In fact, you'll see that our client asked for something that was more difficult to achieve, because they asked that consideration of this be addressed in the planning report and be reflected in the site plan approval. So this is my effort at trying to finesse that.
Okay.
If it's awkward, then I believe in the past, if there's an issue, you could request that the staff report on this to City Council when the matter is considered. As I understand, this is going to go on to Council pretty quickly. So we're not trying to get in the way of this. As you can see, and as I've just said, our client has been a major supporter of this and accepting the large part of the 25-meter tower separation has been, there. But unfortunately, this one is, it's in there, it's in the letter, it's been considered by the parties, and I regret that it's coming forward at this stage, but I would hope that you could accommodate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions of the deputy? Seeing none, are there any other? Oh, Councillor Wong Tam.
Sorry. Thank you for your deputation. I'm just curious to know, at whose cost will this particular screen or buffer be relocated and then reconstructed? Like, it's who's to pay for that?
I'm sure our client would be quite willing and able to do that at that time. And what we're anticipating, I mean, what this is simply doing is anticipating that possible reconstruction is taken into consideration when it's planned and designed, and that there's in effect notice out there that if and when our client comes forward at a later date, they're not kind of faced with this. The question is, well, why didn't you raise it at the time that it was being planned? So this is like early warning, and most certainly, if this is being proposed by our client or requested at a later date, it would be reasonable for them to bear any costs that are involved in doing any replanning and relocating.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions of the deputy? Seeing none, thank you very much for your time today. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none? Oh, would you like to make a deputation? Okay, if you could have a seat and introduce yourself to those of us who don't know you.
Good morning. My name is Tom Jankos. I'm with KingSet Capital, and I just want to be very brief. If you require a presentation, we have our architect, Ralph Giannoni with GPA here, and KingSet is the applicant on this file. I just want to start off by saying this has probably been one of the most rewarding projects that I've worked on in my entire career, and I want to give credit to city staff, in particular Oren Tamir and James Parak have been incredible stewards of this neighborhood, and have really pushed us to come up with a design that we're excited about and also contributes to the public realm. And it's been a great cooperative effort, and I just wanted to communicate that to the members of Community Council. If there's any questions of me, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, we've had conversations with Councillor Layton. We understand he's going to pass a motion. We agree to that motion, and we agree to the recommendations in the report as well.
Thank you. Any questions of the deputy? Seeing none, thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on the item? Seeing none. Questions of staff? No? Councillor Layton.
I have a motion to move. It's long, but essentially it does a little notch out at the top of the building. That's been a long debate between the applicant and some neighboring residents associations. Just listen to the silence and how quickly we went through this item. This is 3 buildings totaling 170 stories in the range thereof. There were no deputations from the community. How many mid-rise items have we spent here for hours listening to deputations? Now, I'd love to take credit for the peace in the valley that seems to have ended up here, but in fact, I think that the credit is owed to two things. A community association, two community associations that have embraced change in a realistic fashion and become so sophisticated in their negotiations with developers that that almost the councillor's office is made wholly obsolete, except for some work.
Whoa, easy there.
Except for some work with ensuring that city staff are kind of brought along for the journey. So my deepest thanks to them, in particular the ABCRA and their leadership for helping shepherd this in. And then on the other side, and I don't do it often, but I'll do it in this case, is a developer came forward with asking for additional density, but in a manner that was in fact more positive than the previous decade-old approval. Because there was an approval on this site for 2 towers and a giant base building. In fact, what's been brought back is a better reflection of what I think and how I think the city and the community want the neighborhood to grow. Yes, there's another building. Yes, they're taller. But there's more open space. There's more interaction with the street and the community around it. And there's more community benefit associated with this that will result in money going to affordable housing. It's $4 million in the end too, or something thereabouts, to affordable housing, and a significant amount to a local community center that will facilitate it being built. So for the developer for bringing forward something that wasn't just in their best interest, and also to the community association for looking out for their best interest, but also for the best interest of the city as a whole. I thank them both for their hard work in bringing this item forward without any deputations from the committee. We will look at the screening issue. I think it's a site plan issue in all likelihood, particularly around the park. I'm encouraged to hear that others in the development community will start to look at the parks as where they should face buildings instead of back onto them. And we'll do what we can to accommodate that as in the passage of time. Thank you very much.
Okay, any questions of the mover?
Oh, I forgot to thank the local planners on the file. Yeah. How terrible of me.
You should have seen their faces, Councillor. They were crestfallen.
I am just terrible, because I said the councillor's role was obsolete. I didn't mean the planner's role was obsolete, because they've worked hard to bring this forward, and indeed I think it was the vision of the neighborhood. They had to do it twice, but there was a neighborhood-wide vision that they're in the process of implementing, and they're doing it in I think a very positive manner. And when you see the way Yorkville East develops in the next couple of years, I think you'll appreciate them the same way I do. Thank you.
All smiles now. Any questions of the mover? No. Anyone else to speak? No. We'll take the amendment and the item together. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. That brings us to TE 14.7. (202 to 208 St. Clair Avenue West) and 2 to 6 Forest Hill Road zoning amendment and rental housing demolition applications final report. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Sir. Yes. If you could have a seat. Tell us who you are. Sorry, pardon me?
To this Forest Hill Road.
Okay.
I'm at 16 Forest Hill Road, right next door.
So you'll have 5 minutes, and you can watch your time on the clock on the wall to my right.
Sure. So my apologies first for not scheduling this meeting, because I understand from this notice that the deadline was 12 noon yesterday. But I was out of town. I was in Australia and I landed at 3 o'clock yesterday. So this notice came after I got, and I got it after I got back. So I built a house at 16 Forest Hill Road, which is right next door to this building. and we've been in that house for just under 2 years. And I just wanted to appear here today just to take note that this is the first notice that we've received for any meeting or anything to do with the construction next door to our house. So when we built our house and bought the land to build our house, there were 2 houses next door to us where people lived in, and in that time, those houses were sold, and they're in the construction of this bigger building that they're trying to put up. So we've never been contacted for any meetings. They've had 2 others that I'm aware of, and I found out about them after from people on my street. There's a sign on the front of this building, and the house is right next door to mine, to say that they're going to post any meetings or any other meetings that they're scheduling will be posted on that sign. And there's never been anything posted on that sign. So I've looked every day to find out when there's a meeting or when there's anything to talk about this building or this construction going on, and they've never posted on a sign that they have on the front of this house saying they will post all meetings and information on this sign. But I do know, as I said, that there had been 2 other meetings which we weren't notified at all, but we found out after the fact from other people on my street, which is Forest Hill Road. So I wanted this. So this is the first notice that we received. I was in Australia for less than a week. This came during that time. I arrived yesterday at 3 o'clock to find out that I was to schedule something by noon yesterday. So I will be contacting a lawyer this afternoon, which I actually did yesterday afternoon, but meeting this afternoon to find out what my legal rights are with all of this and what we can do, because we've not been contacted or explained anything that's going on by whoever's doing this work right next door to our house, which we just built and moved into 18 months ago. So that's why I'm here to just say that, because I actually don't know my legal rights at the moment. I just got this yesterday and thought I would just come down and say what we've been experiencing with this.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the deputant? No? I appreciate your time, sir, and we'll continue with the item now. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Oh, yes, sir.
Hello, good morning, members of council, staff, and the public. My name is Sabahai. I'm here on behalf of Altry Development, who's the applicant. I just wanted to make a quick comment to the gentleman that spoke. I'll be happy to meet with you after. I didn't catch your name, but I'll be happy to speak with you after this. My name is Saba, and I'm representing Altry Developments as the planner for this project. Yeah. I don't know if you have any questions.
Are there any questions for the deputy? No? Thank you very much. Okay. So I just have a couple of questions of staff. So we have requirements for an application that includes posting contact information for interested members of the public. Was such a notice posted in this instance?
Yes, I believe this first speaker spoke to that, Mr. Chair.
So among the responsibilities of the planning staff is that if anyone calls with a question, you track it, you log it, you put them on a list for future communications. Is that the procedure?
That's correct.
That's correct. To the clerk, we have requirements for statutory meetings that notice be given to the public. Were those guidelines followed?
Yes, they were.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to double check that. Okay, so as you know, Councillor Matlow can't be here, but I've worked with his office, and on behalf of Councillor Matlow, I'm going to move that we vote to support the staff recommendations on this item. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Item TE 14.8, 1 through 11 Delisle Avenue and 1469 through 1510 Yonge Street, official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application, final report. I have speakers listed. Dan Lee. Oh, right. Actually, just a moment, Dan, if I may. So the intention from Councillor Matlow's office was to defer consideration of this item for one cycle. So that you understand, because this is a statutory meeting, members of the public can only speak to it one time. So if you speak to it today, you will not be eligible to speak to it when the item returns next meeting, unless new information is provided through staff. So with that provision, understanding your rights, do you still wish to address us today?
We would defer to next month.
You're deferring next month, and that both, okay. Are there any other members of the public who do wish to speak today? Seeing no, what's April 7th, sir? Okay. And if you've registered through any of the public meetings or here today with the clerk's department, you will receive notice of that item as well. Yes? Come forward. Yeah, please. Is it on this item?
Pardon me?
Do you wish to address us on this item?
Yes, please.
And that's understanding that if no new information
Yes.
comes, you won't have the right to address us at April 7th?
Yes.
Okay. If you could tell us your name?
Suzanne Chamberlain.
Pardon me?
Suzanne Chamberlain.
Okay, Suzanne, so you have 5 minutes to address us, and you can
Yes.
watch the
Won't be
time
long.
on the clock
I
to my right.
live at Yonge and St. Clair, and we are not opposed to development. We love our busy corner. But if you look at the whole picture, whoever's looking at this, and I know Councillor Matlow is very aware of it, there are 3 huge buildings planned by Whittington right across the street from this. I guess my number one question, and I don't know if it can be answered today, is that this urban strategies are applying for 44 stories, which, with all due respect, we do not want to be Yonge and Eglinton. So my question is, what is the allowed number of stories now? That if there were no adjustments necessary, what would be allowed? And that I would like that to be compared to what they are applying for.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you for that. Just to be clear, like, this isn't a question and answer session.
No, I just wanted to address it.
I would note that there is staff from Councillor Matlow's office here. If you can just raise your hand. You can probably carry that conversation on that way.
Perfect.
Okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other members of the public who have questions or comments, actually just comments, on this item? Seeing none, I have a motion to defer consideration of this item to the April 7th meeting.
Sorry. I'm not sure. Can I defer with any instructions on that or not? Can I ask staff to look at any affordable housing opportunities on this site because it's being deferred, or do we have to wait for that to come back? I'll just get a clarification. Pardon me?
So if we're deferring the item, it's difficult to defer it with consideration. You would have to move an item, move a different recommendation to refer the item back to staff.
So then
with
I'll just
instructions.
speak to the referral. How's that?
To the deferral.
To the deferral.
Yes.
I will support the deferral, but I'm just giving a heads up to the staff and to Ms. McDonald that there will be questions about this development, achieving any affordable housing units here, how the city is going to do that within this, and what options were looked at in that way. And I will be expecting that when this returns in whatever month that's going to be, given what's going on. Let's assume April. If we could have that, then I can support this deferral.
Okay. Any other speakers on the deferral? So on the motion to defer, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you very much.
What?
TE 14.9, 33 Isabella Street, zoning bylaw amendment application, final report. I do not have, and 9A, which is the supplementary report. We'll consider them together. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none, any questions of staff? No. Councillor Wong-Tam.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You'll note that there's a supplementary report that city planning staff have forwarded for the Community Council, and the recommendation of the supplementary report is to defer this decision on the rezoning bylaw amendment until a revised public notice has been provided to the property owners at 30 Gloucester. So that is the report that is the recommendation I'd like to move, and probably extend that to further community consultation. It will be this matter will be coming back fairly quickly, and at that point in time, I intend to instruct community planning to also set up a site plan working group. Thank you.
Okay. So on the recommendation from the supplementary report to defer, all those in favor, opposed, that carries. Item TE 14.10, 573 King Street East, zoning amendment application, final report. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Questions of staff? No. Councillor Wong-Tam.
Yes, I'd like to move the recommendations in the staff report and just note that this is very much a light touch of a change to zoning. Nothing else with respect to the built form changes here. It's just about permitted use and a new restaurant.
Very good. On the motion, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.11, 26 Ernest Avenue part lot control exemption application. Final report. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? To the journalist in the room trying to take away my quorum, you'll have to wait until some other member of the committee is in the room. No members of the public wish to make a deputation. Any questions of staff? No. To speak, Councillor Bailão.
Approve recommendations.
Okay, on the recommendations, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.12, 206 Russell Hill Road, zoning bylaw amendment application, request for direction report. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Are there any questions of, oh yes, please, do come forward. Good morning. Could you tell us your name, please?
Joyce Black.
Good morning, Joyce. So you'll have 5 minutes and you can watch your time on the clock over there to my right. Please go ahead.
Unaccustomed as I am to doing this, I wasn't planning to. I lived at 206 Russell Hill with my family for over 22 years. I love this heritage house. It's beautiful. I'm very fond of it. I do not want to see it demolished. I just wondered whether I know there's a lot of money involved with a lot of accommodations being proposed. Have they considered the long-term effects of microwave radiation from that tower behind it? 41 years ago, my 16-year-old son died of brain cancer. He was on the 3rd floor with his head facing the window for about 5 years, and there have been lots of studies on microwave radiation. I tried to find out about it at the time, very grief-stricken, of course. The police said, no, we can't measure radiation. Then I found someone on staff who said, yes, for 2 minutes every 2 hours, there's microwave coming out. They denied it, and I'm convinced It killed my son. I just wondered if these people moving in would be aware of that health risk. That's it. Sorry.
Thank you. No, and we appreciate your comments here today.
Okay. Thank
Are
you.
there any questions? No? Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Questions of staff? No. I'm going to be moving the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? Oh, Councillor Layton, I need you in your seat. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item TE 14.13, 5 St. Nicholas Street, demolition of a heritage property subject to an intention to designate under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. And I would note we also have 13A, which is a letter from the Toronto Preservation Board. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on these items? Seeing none, questions of staff? No? Councillor Wong-Tam.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I will move the staff recommendations contained in the report, and just to note that that this is part of a rezoning application, and the developer had all good intentions working with the community to actually preserve in situ and restore this building to its original condition as much as possible. And further investigation, it was determined that the property could not be salvaged on site, but that rather it had to be deconstructed, moved off site, carefully numbered, and then to be brought back. So the rest of the conservation plan by way of this development remains entirely intact. So at the end of the day, we will see a contiguous result that was approved by the community, but not the way it was originally intended by preservation staff. So the outcome will ultimately be the same, but the process will now differ. And I want to thank staff for their work.
Okay. On the recommendations then, all those in favor, opposed, carried. 14 now. Item TE 14.14, intention to designate under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act, 582 King Street West. And you will note that we have a letter from the Preservation Board, TE 1414A. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Any questions of staff? None? Councillor Wong-Tam.
Yes, I'd like to move the staff recommendations.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item TE 14.15, refusal of a Boulevard Cafe permit application located at 796 Bloor Street West, Crawford Street flankage.
That's what they want.
Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Any questions of staff? No. Councillor Layton.
We've asked for a petition on several occasions from this particular applicant, and we would like to maintain an open application forum, so we're looking for a motion to defer the item. We'll do it for, let's do it for 2 cycles, because it just seems that they are too busy serving up tasty Indian food. Spend jars.
Okay.
Give them anything.
Best in the West.
We're going to give them a little bit more time, so that's deferring it 2 cycles? Yeah?
Did they really?
On a motion to defer for 2 cycles, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.16, issuance of a Boulevard Cafe permit located at 12 Clinton Street. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Questions of staff? No. Councillor Layton.
So I have a motion, and this is to extend the to do an extension of the hours of operation. 12 Clinton's right in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and so they came in previously with very strong restrictions on their operating hours because the community was split. It's been a year and a half of operation now, and they have been a good neighbor. Their complaints have been non-existent, and we think it's time to at least extend the time, and I am open to an increase in seating capacity once we get used to the new time. But they'd prefer the time over the seating, and their proprietor just recently left, so because he knew this was coming.
Very good. Okay, on the motion from Councillor Layton, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Colleagues, we have underrun our time. Do we have any of the items that were held in the agenda rundown that we can dispose of now? Could you just read me the item number? You got the floor first, Councillor.
1446 and 1456.
1446.
I don't think those are timed, so maybe we can go ahead.
TE 14.46, Traffic Management Plan, Wallace Emerson area. There were deputants on this item. Let me just find my list. Kent Elson. Kent, are you here? No. Clara Shipman. Clara, are you here? No. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Questions of staff? Councillor Bailão to speak.
I would like to move recommendations 1 to 4, and then on recommendations 5, 6, and 7, amend to install the speed humps. So remove the word not.
Oh, that tricky amendment.
Yes.
Is
there you go.
effectively the alternate recommendations? Okay. All right then.
And I want to thank all the residents that worked with transportation staff in our office on the traffic management committee and are putting this plan together.
Okay. So on the motion from Councillor Bailão, all those in favor, opposed, carried. You had another one?
Another 14.56.
14.56. Traffic control signals and intersection improvements, College Street, Dundas West, and St. Helens. We held it for a deputation. I have listed Jun Nogami. Jun? No? Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Any questions of staff? Nope. Councillor Bailão.
Move staff recommendations. I'm very excited to finally have these improvements being put forward. This is not the final stage yet. We're doing 2 stages of work on this intersection, which is an extremely dangerous intersection for cyclists and pedestrians. And so really looking forward to having these installations and this work being done this summer, and then to have a final phase hopefully next year.
Okay. So on that, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Councillor Fletcher, you had held a number of items in the agenda rundown. We have 5 minutes before the next round of statutory timed items. So you're not prepared yet for any of those?
If I have an item that needs to be reopened.
Okay.
I wrote it down 14.72.
So can I have a motion to reconsider 14.72, implementation of permit parking on Beverly Street between Darcy Street and Baldwin Street?
To reconsider.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. Councillor Layton, the floor is yours.
And then there's an amendment. We just got it a little wrong, and this is expanding the permit boundaries to include part of Beverly Street between Darcy and Baldwin.
Okay. So we'll take the amendment and the original item together, the amended item together. All those in favor, opposed, carried. I do have two items to introduce. Items TE 14.81 and 14.82. Councillor Bailao, you're going to move to introduce those. Thank you so much. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Councillor Fletcher's busy. Councillor Bailao, are you ready to deal with 1482? Yeah? Yep. So this is a new business request, official plan amendment 8 and 10 Talbot Street.
Yes. And I ask for your support for the recommendations in the letter.
Okay, so on the recommendations in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried. So I think we have 3 minutes of personal time available to us. I'm going to go wash my hands, just 'cause. See you all in 3 minutes. If I could,
Are we going to go past, yeah, we have 1:30.
yeah, we have some 1:30 stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you know.
Yeah, no, that's okay. If I could have members of the committee resume their seats. I just need one more person to sit down. Councillor Bailao, if you sit down, I can go. Okay. We were at TE 14.17, front yard parking appeal, 978 St. Clarence Avenue. I have a deputant listed, Anna Medeiros. Anna?
It's Jason Rodriguez, actually, not Anna. It's from my office. I don't know how the names got.
So you would like to make a deputation, sir?
I'd like to speak if I could.
Okay, very good. I don't see Anna, so we'll proceed with you. If you could just sit down, tell us your name.
My name is Jason Rodriguez. I'm from Interarc. I'm here on behalf of the owner of the property.
Okay, Jason, you'll have 5 minutes, and you can watch your time on the clock on the wall to my right. Please go.
The existing property is a two-family dwelling, which has a very tight mutual driveway between itself and the property to the south. The owner is requesting to maintain a hard surface area in front of the front walkway and basement entrance stair as a parking facility to supply him a need for parking for the dwelling. The parking ramp and access to this area will not decrease any of the on-street parking or facilitate an increase in the ramp size. He did poll the neighbors and obtained many certificates or signatures on a petition in favor of the application. When the city polled the area residents, I believe it was conducted between July and August, and it did not pass with respect to they didn't get enough responses back, and I think that could be due to the fact that it was right in the middle of vacation period for a lot of these residents. On the returning ballots, the neighbors were in favor at a rate of 3-1 to approving the front yard parking space. I'm not sure if there's any questions that the committee may have with respect to the application. Yeah. Yes.
Are there any questions of the deputant? No? Thank you so much for your time today. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation? Seeing none, any questions of staff? Councillor Bailao?
Thank you. So this appeal is in front of us because the poll did not get enough responses. Is that correct?
Correct.
Everything else is in compliance?
Yes. Yes, and the city staff
Sorry.
has...
These
It's not
questions
for you.
of city staff?
Of city staff,
You can just
sorry.
return to your seat.
Sorry, not to you. So city staff have to
We
respond.
appreciate the help.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, is it in compliance with everything else?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
So
Those are all my questions.
those are all your questions. Any other questions of staff? I'm not even going to.
Sorry, can I just get clarity on that? So the only reason why it's coming here rather than just being approved is because not enough people reported back?
Yeah.
That's correct.
And what was the rate of response?
The ballots were mailed out 195, and ballots received were 33.
And how many in favor?
18 in favor and 6 opposed.
Okay, thank you. Hey, that doesn't equal 33. That equals 24. There's that many spoiled ballots?
That's the problem with our pollings.
There were two sent to invalid address.
Oh, okay, the return, I got you.
Okay. Councillor Bailao.
Thank you. You know where I'm going with this. I'm going to move the alternate recommendations and to have this approved. We all know the problems that we have with polling. The only reason why this is in front of us is because it was sent in the middle of the summer and the rate of people responding was very low. Majority of the people are in favor. Everything else, it complies with the rules that we've created as a council, and the only reason that it is in front of us is because of a polling system that we all recognize and we know has serious issues. So that's why I'm asking to have your support.
Okay, questions of the mover? No? I will move the staff recommendations to deny. So we'll take the motions in the order they were placed. Councillor Bailaus first. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. All those opposed? 1, 2. So that passes. So the permission is granted. Very, very few.
That's like this many in 10 years. But that's because it's clarified.
There goes the tweet fest.
And I've actually voted for one in 12 years, and it's because there was a legacy thing where the zoning bylaw compelled the applicant to build it on a corner lot in York, in former York, where the rules were kind of kooky. All right.
Hopefully we didn't just blow the doors off and have proliferation.
Any minute now, it's going to happen if we're not careful, if we're not vigilant. All right. That was very fun. TE 14.18, application to remove a private tree, 127 Willow Avenue. I have two deputants listed, Melanie Doulos and Roger Doulos, or Rogel Doulos, sorry. Melanie, Rogel? No? Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none. Bruce, you sure you don't want to come up and chat? No? Okay. All right. Questions of staff? No? Councillor Bradford.
So I'm going to be moving to defer this for one cycle. The deputants who wanted to speak are not feeling well and decided not to come in today. I made it clear to them that I will be denying the request and moving forward with the staff recommendations, but they still want to come and speak to it. So if we
Absolutely.
defer for one
have to
cycle.
protect that right. Okay, on the motion to defer, I presume for one cycle?
That's right.
Yeah. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, where does that take me? Oh, I have to dig out some papers. Yeah, okay. So item TE 14.19, residential demolition application 2 to 6 Humber Hill Avenue. I should alert people my intention is to move to defer this for one cycle. That being offered, are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Seeing none, on the motion to defer, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Item TE 14.20, non-residential demolition application 3775, 3379, 3803, and 4003 through 4005 Dundas West. It's also my intention to defer this for one cycle, but nevertheless, I will call. Are there members of the public who wish to make a deputation? Seeing none, on the motion to defer, all those in favor, opposed, carried. That takes us to TE 14.21, which is a 130. Okay, guys, seriously. Can I have a motion to introduce item TE 14.83? Councillor Layton, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Councillor Layton, are you prepared to deal with it now? Yes? On parking amendments, Shaw Street, Bloor Street West to Essex Street. I presume you're moving the recommendation?
I'll move the recommendations in the report, and I'll just say yesterday we approved some changes to the bike lane on Shaw to reduce the amount of cut-through traffic. This is in response to that. This is the appropriate place to make the changes. We're communicating that to residents, and we hope this will resolve some issues with the contraflow lane that were expressed.
Okay. On the recommendations in the letter, all those in favor, opposed, carried.
You have 8-1 to be passed that way?
No, we did not do 8-1.
Why can't we do that?
I was waiting for you to be
I'm here.
available.
I am available.
Are you, so 33 we're not ready on? Are we ready on 46, which is Wallace Emerson Area Traffic Management? No?
Fix the motion. Just do
Are we?
81.
Okay, so item TE 1481, cycling safety on Dundas, implementation, evaluation, and next steps in Ward 14. Councillor Fletcher, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I would just like to move this. I'd like to thank transportation staff for the work that they've been doing to protect the intersection at Dundas and Jones, where Douglas Christie was killed by a right-turning truck. And that continues. And to look, once that's finished and completed, to really enhancing all of the other intersections, including one across Coxwell, Councillor Bradford's ward into my ward, ensuring that with the new Raindrop Plaza that was approved here with the development, that it's a safe crossing for all cyclists. So that would be very helpful if we do that to date. And again, I just want to thank Mr. Curtis and Ms. Gray and everybody who's been involved in enhancing these sections of the bike lane, keeping them safer.
Okay. Questions of the mover? No. Anyone else to speak? No. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I get a recorded vote on that, please.
Sure. We'll have a recorded vote. All those in favor? Recorded vote. Councillor Layton, how do you wish to vote? Councillor Layton, Councillor Wong-Tam, Councillor Perks, Councillor Fletcher, Councillor Bailao, Councillor Bradford. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
I realized, thanks to the assistance of the clerk, that I can call item 14.27, 1521 Queen Street West zoning bylaw amendment application preliminary report. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? Mercedes? No? Did you want to, this is 1521 Queen. Did you want to? It's in front of us now.
Move, we hold the item down.
Okay, I'll hold it down. I'll hold it down. Okay. No problem. Unless one of the other items, Councillor Fletcher, I believe they're yours.
You know, I'm sure they're all mine. I'll own them.
So I am going to recess the meeting until 1:30. We just have no other work to do at the moment. So I'll see you all at 1:30. Enjoy your lunch.
I might be a few minutes late. I hope that I
Is just a sec, before people run away. I'm tight on quorum. Is everyone else other than Councillor Bailao going to be here? Yes? Councillor Fletcher, will you be here promptly at 1:30? Yes? Councillor Bradford?
It's just, I might not even need to, but I'm going for it.
You look pained. Okay, thank you.
Anne, are you going to this rally too? Or?
I have a
Okay,
doctor's
Kristen and I will be
appointment.
up there and we'll be running back down.
I have a doctor's appointment.